it'd be really cool if they gave us a countdown instead of just going you're live. And we are live. Hey guys, welcome to the Shootin the Breeze podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Hayes. With me is my co-host, Ashton Johnson. Say hey.
Hey.
And tonight on the show, we have Tom and Sophie Byrum. Say hey, guys.
Hey, what's up?
So why don't we start off by you guys introducing yourselves?
All right. Oh, me first? Okay, all right. My name's Tom Byrum. Let's see here. I've been shooting long range with Cameron for a couple of years now. We met about 2 years ago, and got to be friends. Talk about reloading and stuff like that. Let's see. I've been shooting long range and USPSA and pretty much anything I can get a free time to get away from the house and shoot a match in for about 10 years now, and just having a blast. And now, big project over the past few years has been coaching my 8-year-old daughter Sophia here, and trying to seeing her grow and become able to do more things. So, Sophie, you want to talk about yourself a little bit?
You're blowing through the topics. We're gonna get to all that.
All right.
Yeah, no, I was like, we're okay.
My name's Sophia, and I'm 8.
Awesome. All right, so we are there.
That's all we needed, Sophie. You did it right.
Yeah, your dad messed it up. Every time, Tom. Every time. So I'm getting a little
under promise, over deliver. That's me.
Don't count on you for nothing. All right, so I was getting some weird feedback, so I'm putting in headphones, so maybe I'll be able to hear you guys better and maybe other things. Give me a sound check.
Check.
Wow,
check.
that is so loud.
Check.
Tom?
Hey, we're here.
All right, cool. You're still here. Dope. All right, so let's talk about how we met. Take it away.
So we actually met at Sophia's first long range match. That was back in, I think, the end of 2018. And it was a 2-gun match. She was shooting a little 22 pistol, and she was shooting an AR-15 223 when she was 7 years old. And Cameron was on my squad. He was, if I'm right, it was one of your first matches after coming back, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I actually got back from overseas like in 2018, like in the middle towards the end of 2018, and then that was the first precision rifle match that I had ever shot, and I was actually using the Palmetto State Armory, the PA-65 in that match. That was the 2 MOA gun that I ended up doing really well with. Mm-hmm. That gun, that match was whenever I met you guys.
Yeah, that was an awesome time. We had a bunch of great people on the squad, like AJ and Ashton. I think you were on the squad too, and just met a lot of really great people. That was one of the first matches over at Todd Resource Management, where we typically do a lot of our kind of local match shooting from a long range standpoint.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the TRM matches. They actually sponsor my YouTube channel, so like they give me a place to evaluate products and stuff, but I'll talk about that later. Yeah, the TRM matches, good place to meet new people and stuff like that. Like I said, that's kind of where we met. But I realized this after we talked about this earlier today. That's not the first time me and you ever had an interaction.
Blackstone?
The first time that me and you, no, because that was after I was overseas whenever you started going to Blackstone, so we had just missed each other there. No, there was a certain Facebook group that yeah. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I make smart comments every now and again, and there was a picture in a Facebook group that I was a member of. And I sort of joined the group just a little bit before that. I was overseas at the time, and I just kind of said, hey, I'm here to help if anybody has any questions kind of thing. and then they went and did like a 1 mile shoot or something like that. And there was a bunch of pictures of them doing the 1 mile shoot. And I just posted a funny comment. I said, all those shooters, not a single person with a pen and piece of paper. And of course, Tom had some smart aleck stuff to say back. And then I got deleted out of the group.
Not my doing.
Yeah, I know who was responsible.
So that was over at Clinton House. And yeah, I'd gone out there with a couple of guys that just kind of never met before, just met them through that Facebook group, and they were doing like a Clinton House shoot day, and so I went down there, and just before that, what I did is before those pictures, I went down, I got prone, and then I ran through those targets, big, small, all the way out to 1,000 yards, just dialing my, and I was dialing, so don't hold that against me. But just dialing my dope all the way along there, and no, I didn't need a notepad.
Yeah, I keep most of it up here.
Probably couldn't do it again like that.
Yeah, I was we were talking about how I out to like 700-800 yards. I usually know what my dope is because it's not that hard.
Right.
Yeah, but then like once I get out past that or whatever, environmental start to change what your shot's going to do and everything like that. But Ashton actually had the pleasure of meeting the guy who started that group. Don't say his name. Ashton, you remember?
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but yeah, I met him.
Yep.
He wasn't too happy.
Yeah, he wasn't pleased to see me in person. But anyway, all right. So that's how we met, was in a Facebook group, and then we met at a TRM match. And how did you meet big man up there, Ashton?
Ashton, I actually met him. I definitely met him at Blackstone.
Yeah.
And
I was there for a while.
Back when there were still matches at Blackstone, here in the Charlotte area, and we were doing USPSA matches. Those were actually some of my first USPSA matches ever, because before that I was drinking the IDPA Kool-Aid, and before that I was barely even competing. I was primarily defensive shooting focused, and before that it was just plinking. So Ashton, I definitely met Ashton, back in the Blackstone days. And Ashton, I don't remember if you did come to one or two of the Range of Valentine shoots, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah, a couple of them.
Yeah, so it was actually pistol shooting that I met Ashton through.
Yeah, I used to shoot those matches. Like I used to shoot the Blackstone matches, the point blank range matches, all the IDPA and USPSA matches and stuff like that. And then some of the random 1Z, 2Z, 3 gun matches like Walnut Grove and Sand Hills and stuff like that. Used to shoot all of those matches, but then once I got into like precision rifle shooting, like once I finally decided to pull the trigger, so to speak, that was whenever I just I pushed all the other stuff away and pretty much strictly stuck with precision rifle stuff. And yeah, but that's where me and Ashton met also, was in the IDPA USPSA world.
Yeah, I'll still shoot pretty much anything. Last year I shot a level 2 IDPA match and figured out that all of my penalties were because of dumb IDPA rules, like dropping an empty mag and doing a reload with one in the chamber. Right. So I decided that previously any shooting's good shooting, but IDPA not so much. I don't think I'll be doing a lot of IDPA anymore.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. The first matches that I ever shot, actually, the first match that I ever shot in my life was Todd Scandrett, the Resurgence PPG guy. He just talked me into it finally. Like he just kind of wore me down. He kept inviting me out to come shoot pistol matches, and finally I was just like, fine. And I came out and I ended up doing really well. And then it just kind of stuck. I enjoy competing. It's good training. It's good practice, so. But the more I shot IDPA, the more people were like, you're really fast, and I think you do really good in USPSA. So then whenever I switched over to USPSA, I was shooting production division. And Ashton can attest to this. I was pretty much I was in the top 5 like every single indoor match that we went and shot. I was beating like open division shooters and stuff like that, shooting production, and that makes people mad, and I love that.
Yeah, I was pretty high on IDPA for a little while, mostly because I went out and I shot a classifier for the first time, and I classified like just short of expert. I was, classified sharpshooter, and then it wasn't until I started shooting USPSA I figured out that that's like, bottom of C class.
Yeah,
I only went up to Blackstone for tacos after, so I don't remember the shooting.
Taco Tuesday. Every Tuesday after the match, we would go to the Brass Tap and go get tacos and beer.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about? So we were talking about like kind of how we met and stuff like that. So that's
quick. Let me do a quick point before we get to the next topic. For everyone watching, if y'all have questions you want to ask, post them up in the comments if it's pertinent, and we can fill it in while we're going. I'll get to them. If not, we'll get to them at the end. Just put them up in the comments, and I'll try to follow. Next topic was more about yourselves.
Okay, so we went over how we met, and then after how we met, it's tell the viewers that if they have questions to go ahead and ask. If they're pertinent to what we're talking about, we'll go ahead and address it at the top. Did you just say that or something?
Are you serious? Yes.
I don't listen to you, Ashton. B-list. Anyway.
Next topic. Who are you?
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, why don't we just cover something that we already covered, since Cam's not paying attention at all?
No, the next topic is who are you? So tell me a little bit more about yourselves. You kind of touched on it at the beginning, but we'd like to hear more from Sophie as well.
Yeah. So Sophie, how about, since I already ran right through this topic, like a freight train, Sophie, how about you talk a little bit? How did you start shooting?
Well, I was first shooting when I was 4, and
Air rifle.
yeah, I started with the air rifle. Then when I was 6, I shot my first match.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of match was that?
Challenge match.
You put that with a 22
It was a what match?
Yeah.
Steel challenge.
Yeah. And then let's see, just after that was when you did your first long range match. It was just after you turned 7. Yeah. Yeah, this little air rifle she started out on when she was 4. And basically, I think you can start teaching kids just as soon as they understand the concept of the sight picture. If they can aim, they can shoot. So this little pump action air rifle, this was something just like off the shelf at Cabela's, little AR format sort of thing. The stock comes off of it, so length of pull for a little kid's not that big a deal. And I threw, it was like a $35 air rifle. I threw like $100 worth of AR crap that I had laying around on it. So it's got a little Atlas bipod, it's got a red dot on it. And, basically we were just working on sight picture, trigger control, safety, because, it was AR format. It had, it had the same safety controls, regular AR. Finger outside the trigger guard, all the sort of safety stuff that we needed to do, but in a single shot format where, I had to pump it up 6-7 times, each time and load a new pellet into the chamber. So it wasn't that, it was something that was easily able to be controlled. You always knew exactly what the condition was. And so I was able to focus on, more on her than on the gun itself.
Well, you did a good job at it. Kudos on that. The first match I seen her at Richards, I was like, they're going to let her shoot a stage, and the trigger finger discipline and all the safety. She probably outshot some of these guys here. She did amazing.
She hasn't been disqualified yet.
That's saying a lot.
And practice better safety. I see people doing ridiculous stuff on ranges and stuff like that. I'm like, there's a little girl over there that could teach you some things about safety, sir. Anyway.
Yeah, so what are you shooting these days, Sophie?
Nope.
Oh, never mind.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, like a freight train.
Yeah. God, just blowing through this stuff. Okay. Gas. or bolt?
Bolt.
Girl,
Yes!
girl, I'm done.
Knuckle it.
I am done with you. Podcast is over. No, don't knuckle it.
Yes!
Don't knuckle nothing. Ugh.
And she
Why,
kept it
why
simple.
bolt?
Just
Why?
bolt. Oh, now you want to know why?
I
You
want to know why.
all the other
I want to know
podcasts.
why. I want to know why this 8-year-old girl wants a bolt gun.
All right. So why do you like bolt?
Well, it's easy to run. It's like I can do it fast, and it's easy.
And then what's hard about an AR? What's hard about the AR, the rainbow rifle?
Well, it's a gas gun.
Yeah. No, you just have a hard time with the charging handle. So pulling the bolt back, and Richard's matches at TRM, a gas gun usually starts with a bolt forward on an empty chamber. And when Sophie's shooting a match, I generally really try to avoid making any sort of request for an accommodation or have her shoot kind of a different course of fire. And so for her, starting bolt forward on an empty chamber, she doesn't have the strength to be able to actually rack the bolt yet on the AR. And so that's probably the biggest reason, right?
Yeah. It's too hard to pull back.
Okay, so the issue is like strength, hand strength. It's difficult because she has to do the, run the charging handle or whatever. So that means that, Tom, because you're a big, strong man, that means you pick gas gun, right? Right?
No, I'm a bolter too. I like bolt gun for long range. I've always been more accurate with the bolt gun. I mean, I started out in ARs for a long time. I really enjoy them. I mean, I've got a hell of an AR that I really like shooting 3-gun. I like shooting the long range stages in 3-gun. That's really where I make up most of my time in a match. So I can definitely shoot a gasser, but I shoot better with a bolt for sure.
Fine. Fine.
That's 2 more marks.
Amateurs. All of you amateurs. Y'all all need to just grow up. No
Come to
offense
the dark
Sophie,
side.
because technically she does because she's 8 years old. But all right, anyway, bunch of wrong people here. Sophie, so whenever you get like a little bit bigger and stronger, you gonna run a gas gun or a bolt gun?
That'll have to wait until I get older.
All right.
Bolt.
All right, fine.
She can't make sophisticated choices like that. It takes class.
But I think it's going to
Apparently, neither can any of y'all. Can't make sophisticated choices like that. Done with this. All right. So what?
Sophie, you do like shooting an AR though, right? Like that's what you shoot for your 22, and that's what you shoot for your PCC, right? Yeah. So no stranger to the AR format there.
I'm afraid.
Don't let them change your mind. Bolt.
I'm not a foe.
All right. So for both of y'all, long range experience. That was the question.
That was the question. That was the statement. So, all right. So I'll go and touch back on what I said earlier when I wasn't supposed to say it. Overall
Overachiever.
Yeah. So I've been shooting since I was a kid with my dad and things like that, and most of that time it's just plinking up until basically around the time that Sophie, we were expecting Sophie. And then decided to go from just turning money into noise into something that actually had some tangible improvements, and go from just plinking to training, and focused on defensive shooting for a long time, mostly pistol shooting, a little bit of carbine, things like that, and then got into competitive shooting and found a whole new world. In the defensive pistol course, I thought I was good. I got top shot in classes a few times, things like that. You get into competition and, you get your world rocked. It's amazing. There's nothing like it. And so I was hooked. And, like I said, moved through, from defensive into IDPA into USPSA, and then started getting into, more rifle type stuff. And, shot, I think my first precision match was an AR-10. And so, started out in gas and decided I didn't really like shooting long range with a gas gun because, it's for, people who missed the first time. And
You never told me that.
and then got myself into a bolt gun. Didn't know what I was doing much at the time, so I went ahead and got an AI because I figured, I'll, no excuses there. I didn't want to have to blame the equipment. I wanted to know that and my misses are me. And
if I'm not mistaken, you run AIAW, right?
AIAX.
Oh, okay, so you're not running the Arctic Warfare. Yeah, Ash is running AIX for his 260 Remington, but his is accurate ordnance.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a beautiful looking gun too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Sophie, what's your long range experience? Were you smoking the Taliban in Afghanistan a few years ago? Like, let's hear it. Oh yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure that you weren't. There's a permission.
Rephrase the question, Cameron.
I mean, unless you're sneaking out at night and I don't know it.
Navy SEAL. She's got nods under her bed.
You're a ninja. So long range experience. You started shooting long range. Really just at that match we were talking about, right? And you had, in order to shoot on the barrel, you had to stand on a fat bag because it was too short of a length. What's the longest you've shot? Yeah, 500 yards. Maybe it was probably 550 off that Connex, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I remember that. She was hitting targets up there because I was recording that whenever she was doing it. I do remember that. So that's the farthest shot. So I was present for the farthest shot she's ever made.
That's right, so far. And in Ashton, you were giving the wind corrections there, and she was making a lot of second shot hits. She was hitting the gas guns.
That was a tough day with wind.
The jabs on the gas gun. We're past that now. We've moved on. You're the worst. All right. What are some... What, little girl?
How dare you call me a word?
So we talked about your long-range experience from your dad and from you. So
I would have never made this cross without him.
So you guys don't host matches, but you do. Like normally, the question is, what matches are you affiliated with? But as far as I know, I mean, I could be wrong. You're not affiliated with anybody. You don't belong to anyone. But you do.
No.
You did what now?
Not under my own name, no.
Yeah, I use an alias, Rusty Shackelford, Combropolis Michael. You guys are affiliated with nobody. So what matches do you support is another, like, which ones are you guys regulars at and stuff? Like if somebody wanted to see Tom and Sophie, what matches might they go look for y'all at?
Yeah, we shoot a lot of the matches at TRM. I've got one, coming up here in a couple weeks. I think we're going to be shooting. It's going to be apparently kind of weird because everybody brings all their own stuff and nobody touches each other, which is going to be new territory for me. Yeah. But the match must go on, right? So
Match must go on.
we do a lot of TRM. That's where we do a lot of long range. We started going down to Sandhills Shooting Sports for the first time. That was a great match. That's where Sophie shot her first USPSA match a few weeks ago with the pistol caliber carbine. She did great on that. Really cleaned up on the steel there. There's a video of that on her Facebook page. And Yeah, I mean, basically between that and we'll shoot down at Pappy's. For those of you in the Charlotte area, you probably know about Pappy's in South Carolina, and they'll do USPS or they'll do steel challenge matches. That's where we'll shoot a lot of those. Then we'll go to Carolina Guns
Okay.
in Asheboro up near the zoo. We'll shoot there from time to time as well. Do the carbine matches or steel challenge up there.
On the topic of TRM coming up, he posted that all the stages will be tripod heavy.
Yeah, it's too bad I don't have a first one.
You don't have a tripod.
No.
Not a one tripod. Not
We gotta
none,
get a
not never.
tripod advertised for her to borrow.
Right here.
Yeah, I always see it. So as you guys see, 903 Tactical in the chat room. First of all, he wanted to say something about bolt guns. Ugh. And then, but then he said something about his bolt gun being lighter than yours, Tom.
Yeah, I was just laughing. Good to see you, George. Good thing you could be light-hearted about all of this. But I'll take that challenge. I'm pretty sure this is a damn light bolt gun.
So I know a lot of you guys aren't tracking this. There was a little back and forth between Tom and George. It was playful, of course. George is the owner of 903 Tactical. I have the hat right here, and he makes some really dope guns and stuff like that. He's got his own line of rifles coming out, and he made a really, really light. It might have been a PCC. It might have been a 5.56. It might have been 308, 300 blackout. It was one of those. Whatever it was super light, and he had it up on a scale. And then Tom basically challenged him and put his on the scale that he made for Sophie. And they were just going back and forth about light guns. And I was just like, I'm glad I facilitated this relationship right here. So that's what George's comment about he bets his bolt gun is lighter probably stemmed from.
That's some awesome stuff, though. The things that 903 Tactical's putting out there. I mean, they're commercializing some of the stuff that took me years of trial and error to try to put together. And my stuff is all competition focused. His actually works. Actual, dust covers and forward assists and garbage like that I don't need on a competition rifle.
Garbage.
Okay, so that was matches that you are supporting or whatever. Let's talk about tips and tricks. I want them from both of you. So, Sophie, I want you to go first. What is a tip or trick that you use that helps you in long range?
Well, first of all, I might say, you break the wall when you're ready on the trigger. That's one of the things he's always telling me to do.
Yeah, we shoot a 2-stage trigger, so I tell her feel the wall. If she pulls right through it and doesn't feel it, then she pulled too fast. And we run pretty light triggers too.
And I might move up next to the fire target.
So you're teaching her trigger control. That's good. So your tip or trick is to pay attention to that trigger, right?
Yeah.
What ounce do you have it set at?
Shut up, Ashton. It's a bolt gun. Nobody cares.
I care. I want to know what she's running. It might be lighter than mine. I might need to
No, it's definitely not lighter than yours. The second stage is probably as light as yours, but we have a whole first stage to get through as well. Your gun's scary.
Nah.
Yeah. So
Ashton, you've got like a bench rest trigger in your gun. It's 6 ounces. Are you kidding?
yeah, ours is a total of 12 ounces. And I run hers up the same way that I set mine up. I like a 2-stage trigger. I like the first stage to be about 75%, 60 to 75% of the weight. So I like to know I'm pulling the trigger, and then I like the second stage to be just a thought away. So we run about 8 ounces on the first stage and then 4 ounces on the second stage.
I like to think about it and it just goes off.
That's an accurate statement. Like, it sounds like a joke, but the funny part about that joke is it's not a joke. You can look at Ashton's rifle, and if If it's loaded and it's got the safety off, you look at that thing, it'll go off. I can't tell you how many people he's handed off his gun to, and they've shot it for the first time, and every single person's like, wasn't expecting that after the first shot.
Most of them keep pulling the trigger, and they're like, what was that sound?
Yeah.
Like, no, rack, you already
trigger feel? I didn't even touch the trigger.
Yeah. But that's good. I'm impressed. I thought she would be shooting a heavier trigger than that. That's still really light, 12 ounces.
Oh, like an AR trigger that's heavier? Because AR triggers are always heavier, Ashton.
We're not talking about ARs anymore, apparently.
That's another gas. But I think that trigger feel is it's just a matter of calibration. It's like your gas pedal, your gas pedal versus your brake pedal, right? Try hitting the gas in your car with your left foot when you're used to it with your right foot. You're not going to have fine control, right? Because your left foot, your brain's not set up to have that amount of fine control in that sort of circumstance. I think triggers are very similar to that. If your brain is calibrated to a particular trigger feel, you don't need a heavy trigger just to be safe.
I agree. And I didn't start at the 6 to 8 ounces. I was up around a pound and kept working down. But yeah.
Yeah. Other tips and tricks, Sophie? What else do you do when you shoot? What are the things you think about?
Let me think about that.
Hey, don't let me down here.
Hey.
Well, we need to know yours too. So while she's thinking, what you want to send it out a tip or trick? I mean, I know you're like a C-list shooter on your best day, but it's probably because you shoot a whole gun.
Mid-pack for life. In precision rifle in particular, and actually pretty much any competition shooting, most of your time is not actually spent shooting. Most of your time is spent shooting, spent moving. And so a lot of people, they don't focus on that. They're all about, hey, gotta make sure I understand my holds, gotta make sure I understand, and you gotta know all of that stuff. But actual time on the scope breaking the trigger is multiplied if you're able to get into that position and build a good position quickly, or make the best out of a bad position and get yourself into it, and again, spend as much time actually breaking that shot as possible. So for me, I think that focusing on movement, focusing on getting from one position to the next as efficiently as possible and as fast as humanly possible is a huge game changer. It really makes up for needing some additional time when you're actually on the gun itself.
I'm glad that you said that, because, and I know me and you have talked about it on the phone and stuff like that, but I think it makes for a good topic or a good chunk of discussion for the podcast. Me and Tom have actually shot together as a team at a team match where he was the primary shooter because he was shooting a ballistically superior gun, and I was the secondary shooter. And one of the things that we did in one of the matches was he was in a more uncomfortable position than I was. So even though he had the ballistically superior gun, I was in a more stable position because I was proned out on the ground. So even though I had the disadvantageous round, I was in a steadier position. So we decided before the stage that I would make the hard shots, even though I was the secondary shooter, and he would make the easier shots. And I mean, he's got the load that he's running is insane. You're running 2,900 feet per second with a 147 grain ELDM, which has a G1 ballistic coefficient of almost 7.
Yeah, it's smoking. I run a 28-inch barrel. It's like a pool cue.
Yeah, so he's running this stupid high BC bullet that's running stupid fast, and then I'm over here with my 5.56 that's going 2,700 feet per second with a 75 grain boat tail hollow point that's got less than a 4. And I was like, yeah, I'll make the hard shots, whatever. Yeah, we actually ended up doing really well on that stage. We cleaned it.
Yeah, we sure did. And just so everybody knows, when Cam says ballistically superior, he means bolt gun.
That's what he was saying. That's what I heard. That's
not what I was saying. That I was not saying that. like we were talking about factors that are important and factors that aren't important. If you had, just for example, if you had a half MOA gun, regardless of if it was bolt or gas,
Probably.
if you have a half MOA gun and and they're running the same velocity and you're running the same BC bullet, theoretically, everything is going to be the same, regardless if you're running a gas gun or a bolt gun. The issue is most of the time you won't find gas guns that are shooting sub MOA all the time, because their standard deviations typically are a little bit different because you have gases that you're working with more, and you have to cycle a bolt and stuff like that using those gases instead of manually doing it. So if all things are equal, your velocity, the BC of your bullet, and your level of precision being, in MOA, whatever your sub MOA number is, that, theoretically everything else should be the same, except for with the gas gun, you have faster follow-up shots, and that should be the only difference.
Right. And all that matters at that point is where's the barrel pointing when the projectile leaves it. And the big difference with a gas gun is really the dwell time in between the trigger pull and the point at which the projectile exits the barrel. The gas effect actually doesn't, the bolt's not coming back. It's not even unlocking until the projectile's gone because of the delay. The pressure's building, none of that stuff's really happening. So all the gas specific stuff really isn't having that much of an effect yet. It affects the follow-up shots, but predominantly, and in my mind, as I've been thinking about this, gas versus bolt, the biggest thing is the amount of arc that the hammer needs to needs to go through versus the small, just the sear getting out of the way of the firing pin assembly in a bolt gun. Just that level of precision and the additional movement that you have on an AR platform is probably, in my mind, one of the major contributors to the perception that it's not as accurate as a bolt gun.
Because you've seen that I've got a few gas guns that shoot sub MOA all day long, and then I've got one that's just stupid. I've got one that's got bolt gun accuracy, but it's a gas gun. It shoots like quarter MOA, and people are like, "No, it's impossible. It's a gas gun." And then I do it, and then people are like, "Wow, didn't expect that." All right, Sophie, did you figure that out? Whatever your other tip or trick was?
Actually, feeling the walls my boat is the one I actually do all the time. I don't really have any more other tricks.
What's the thing that we're working on right now? What are you?
Keeping my eyes open.
Yeah.
Both eyes?
Like when I shoot, pull trigger back after feeling the wall, I blink my eyes at the same time. Still working on not to.
So you're closing your eyes before the shot goes off. Kind of at the same time.
Yeah. So, but you're better than you used to be, right? So what did you used to do?
Blink my eyes all the time.
No, you'd blink. You close your eyes before you pulled the trigger, right?
Yeah.
And now you're
getting dry firing with her now.
Yeah.
Good.
So, we do dry fire. We're also fortunate enough to be able to shoot here at home.
Yes.
So we'll shoot plenty of 22 out there, and we got a suppressed bolt gun. Just slinking away at that with that 22. You've seen it, Cam. We've been out there middle of the night, shooting off ladders and stuff.
That was a good time. That was a good time, and that was good training. So we set up a ladder at 100 yards, and we were shooting at like a little like dueling tree type thing, but it was like reduced in size where they were like 3 inches wide or something like that, and they were diamonds. And just running the bolt and shooting it, and it was in the low light condition. And we were shooting off of a ladder with just a game changer bag on top of it. So it was a really good, it had a lot of training value to it. It was awesome.
Yeah,
and to have
he gets when he talks about running a bolt, gets all cheesy.
Yeah.
He's gonna turn. He's gonna turn.
I've shot bolt guns in matches. The last match I shot my Ruger American Predator. You remember? Remember? And I did really well with the bolt gun. I just prefer gas guns. Mostly because whenever I think of the precision rifle stuff, I associate it more towards the current role of a sniper or or a designated marksman in a squad. So like, because I associate it more to that, and I think there's more training value for what I do with it in that aspect. That's why I prefer it. But Ash, I shoot your 260 like every time we go to the range.
Yeah.
Hell, I shoot it better than you do. So whenever you're doing load development, you're like, "Hey man, will you come shoot this and tell me what level of precision I actually got here?"
True story.
Yeah, it's like I can shoot like bench rest type stuff. Like that's cool to me and whatever, like shooting itty bitty little groups. But where my heart and soul and where I think there's the most training value for me is whenever I'm running gas guns and I'm shooting them from like uncomfortable positions and stuff like that. And we had talked about how there is training value in shooting off of your belly. There is training value to it as far as load data gathering. Like if you're doing load development, get as stable as possible. If you're trying to figure out your exact hold at a certain distance, get as stable as possible. But then once you have that information, stop shooting on your belly. Stop shooting off the bench. That's what we were more like leaning towards. Okay, so we're kind of past tips and tricks. Equipment. What equipment for you was like the biggest game changer? And we've already gone over tripods, the game changer squeeze bags, and the electronic level or bubble level. So you can use one of those if you want to, but we would prefer that you have something else to talk about because otherwise this is going to be boring.
I gotta say, for me, it's the Arca rail. The ability to change the configuration of what I'm shooting, even during a stage. Shorten up my bipod or move my bipod. Keep my bipod in and run a bag further out. Then I move out into a different position, or I move down to the bottom of a gate or something like that. And I just flip a lever, slide my bipod out, and it's right where I need it to be. Just the flexibility of that Arca rail. And for me, I use the Area 419 Arca lock system. Big fan of the Area 419 products. I need to like some sort of subscription program or a rehab program, one or the other. I'm not sure which one it is, but keep on buying just about everything that they put out, and really like the Arca stuff that they put out there. The rail changer, the ability to mount my game changer onto the rifle itself, and save myself a hand that way. All of that stuff, that whole Arca rail system, and the modularity of it all was huge for me.
All right, Sophie.
Well, I would also say bags.
Okay. We've gone over squeeze bags, but do you have a particular bag that you like the best? Did you make your own bag? Is there a certain way that you use it that we don't use it?
Well, my favorite kind of bags are gecko skin kinds. That's what me and Dad call them.
So the real sticky,
Gotcha.
the sticky
I know
bag.
what they meant.
She really likes it. She calls that gecko skin.
Because it sticks like a gecko.
Yep. But Sophie, we were just talking about you blinking too, right? Was there something that we changed in the last batch that made that problem a little bit less of an issue for you?
Well, to keep your eye focused on the target.
But was there something we did with the equipment that's like right next to your head in the picture, which is kind of awkwardly set up?
I can see what the point now. The suppressors.
Mm-hmm.
Those actually really helped. Because they are quieter. They don't really surprise my brain, which I don't really want to do that. Like, my brain's prepared. This is when I get scared easily. And it just helped me. Quieter. If the noise is really loud, like gunshots without suppressors, I don't really like it. But with the suppressor, it actually helps a lot.
You got me sold on them. You should promote them.
So
Yeah, we had talked about very briefly suppressors in the last podcast where I had said basically if my gun doesn't have a Control Solutions muzzle brake on it, it's got a suppressor on it. I designed my own suppressor. I made it out of titanium. I made the baffles reduced in distance. I had a blast chamber. I incorporated an expansion chamber, all that other stuff. I did all that, designed my own suppressor. And I was like, yeah, this thing's awesome. And then go shoot it. It works awesome. It was a Form 1. A good buddy of mine, actually, I bought the parts from. He had bought the parts kit a while back, and he just wasn't doing anything with it. Can't remember that guy's name, though. It must not have been important.
Yeah, he's probably dead to you because I think he likes bolt guns.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so your equipment was bags. Your equipment was the Arca rail. All right, that's dope. Are there any new developments in your life that can be anything? It doesn't have to necessarily be shooting related. It can be shooting related, but just new developments. You get a new card. You get a raise at work.
What?
Well,
no, I forgot to cover something in equipment. Sorry. Backpedal just real quick.
Didn't I already say it?
Utilization of something that I've noticed that you use, which is the definition of that word I've been drinking. Anyway, you use the Tacticam.
Mm-hmm.
And you use that as a training aid for her. Talk about that.
Yeah. So the Tacticam system, something I tried out a few months ago. I was looking at different things like a phone scope or Tacticam or a couple of different products that will allow you to record the video through the actual scope itself. And so I got the Tacticam system because I didn't like the way that the phone scope kind of takes up my phone and things like that. Tacticam just seemed a little bit more full featured. And set it up on Sophie's rifle, and I was able to see in real time, like on my phone, what she was seeing through the scope. And so we would go out to the range, and I would have her like work on holding 2 mils. So everything that she shot, she'd be holding 2 mils, shooting a plate rack type thing out at 300 yards, which is the furthest we have here at the local range. And I was able to record that. I was able to, when we're practicing with her 22 with the Voodoo here, I can have that set up, and she can shoot a bunch of different distances here using different holds for each one. And I'd be able to look at that video and walk through it with her after the fact and say, hey, what was going on here? Or, your reticle was on target for a long time before you broke the shot. What were you thinking about? Were you, and it's just a fantastic coaching tool for me, because in precision rifle, the adjustments that a shooter makes in order to be on target versus off target, or stay steady versus not be steady, they're so minute that I'm not a trained coach for that sort of thing. I mean, maybe, sniper instructors have some magical skills for that, but it's so difficult to just look at a shooter and see what they need to do in order to be able to hit the target versus be, just off left. And that video is a key role, or a key thing for me to see, okay, what would I have seen as I'm looking through the scope? And did they notice the same sort of things that I'm noticing as I'm looking at the video later with them?
Yeah, whenever I saw that you were using that as a training aid, I was like, that right there is a game changer. Like I was thinking of ways that I could use that for basically any shooter that was interested in getting into long range. And you were the first person who I've ever seen do that. And that's why I wanted to address it tonight on the podcast. I know I kind of blindsided you with that one because I had it written down on like my special notes. It was like, hey, talk about this. And yeah, what you were saying about, having like in marksmanship instructors or whatever, having a special skill to see why soldiers or whatever miss for whatever reason. We don't. And if I had, a Tacticam on every, Loophole Mark IV, or actually we might be running something different now. If I had one of those on every single one of, our sniper rifles or every single ACOG or whatever, then I would know why soldiers were missing. But the issue is, I can't see what they see. I don't see what happens when they pull the trigger. I don't, so whenever I saw you doing that, I was like, I have to buy one of those. So I purchased one. I haven't received it yet. I purchased one, and I planned on using it for my YouTube channel. but I'm also going to be using it as a training aid whenever I train other people. So that was actually that was on you, and you didn't even know it.
Yeah, I like that. Not just other people. I want to try it for myself. I've shot stages and maybe shot it a little slow or missed a target and been down one, and at the end I'm like, that was a blur. I don't even remember what I was thinking or what I did.
The only
That would be
drawback
good
that
to-
I found is, in using it in competition, it does affect the scope picture a bit. It's not as bright. Obviously, it has more glass or plastic or whatever it is to get through. It's a $300 device that I'm putting on a $3,000 scope or whatever, right? So it's not going to be as clear a picture. I find that it changes the eye relief slightly. So my position is a little bit different. I need to, I think, shorten the length of pole in order to get a better picture, because the hole that you're looking through is a little bit closer to your eye.
with
So
the AIAX, that's easy.
I don't know if I'd run it during a match. I could try it for a match I don't really care all that much about. If there is one of those.
Guardian.
Yeah.
That's not by placement. It's random draw.
Yeah,
I'd run one
exactly.
at Guardian.
Go to Guardian. That's so I got second place on the Teams A back in 2017 up at Frontline, mostly because I am the quintessential mid packer, and so I ended up being like 51st percentile and got paired up with somebody who was like 49th percentile. And the only reason that we didn't get first place team was because the bad side of the first place team didn't show up, and they had to sub one of the ROs, who
Gotcha.
along with one of the top shooters in the match. So yeah, they totally burned us. But that would be a good place to try it out, because that Guardians are always fun matches. I really enjoy those. I know the guy who runs that, Gary. He's a fantastic guy. He cares so much about people. We shoot together from time to time over here because he's here in the Charlotte area. I really love the Guardian matches along with a lot of the other matches that I shoot. So I might run it there. That would be good, but it's hard to want to try to put it in competition because it does change things, and I don't think it changes them for the better.
It's all the way in Ireland.
But yeah, the last Guardian match we shot was in Ireland.
I'd actually mentioned to somebody, because on my YouTube channel, people were talking about me wearing glasses whenever I was shooting one of my guns, because I got so many complaints about not wearing safety equipment whenever I was doing some of my YouTube videos. And then somebody had messaged me privately and was like, "Hey, I saw you were wearing glasses in one of your videos. What's up?" And I was like, "I know, I get it." And the reason why he messaged me is because I tell people all the time that whenever you incorporate extra lenses, you're incorporating another layer of parallax into the equation. So now your parallax is not the same because you are adding an additional lens. So that was actually one of the things I was concerned about with adding a Tacticam to my system, is I was wondering if my parallax was going to be different, where, because shooting in uncomfortable positions, my head's not always straight behind the gun, but it's usually not enough for it to really matter. Anyway, so I wanted to cover that real quick. Now, back to new developments. My bad.
All right, Sophie, are there any new developments that you want to tell anybody about?
What's a development?
What's things that are new? What's happening in your life, not just shooting related? Go ahead. Yeah, Mama's having a baby. We're gonna have a third kid. So
What?
Congrats.
Pretty excited about that. Yep. So
I wanted to be an assistant.
we've got Sophie, who's 8, and then I've got a son named Ben. He's 2.
Call him Benji.
Those of you who follow Sophie's Facebook page saw a little video of him trying to work on his Grandmaster make ready with a little pistol. Yep.
No.
And then then I'll have a third. So pretty soon we're going to be filling out whole squads and matches. It's going to be pretty awesome. There's the byrum squad.
Squad Byrum. Can I be on that squad? That squad sounds dope.
No.
We'll adopt.
Oh, she
Ouch!
said no.
Ouch!
You have to become the byrum.
Oh.
You want to.
Will y'all adopt me? Cause like y'all got plenty of room in your house.
That's fine. I've got
She
tiny
said
little
no,
things
you don't
for
shoot bolt.
You have many plastic ones.
So yeah, so that's kind of the big development in our house these days. And let's see here. Obviously, we're all, I'm sorry I couldn't join you live in the studio. Everybody's on lockdown, so that's kind of unusual. Working from home and also being able to shoot at home makes it pretty difficult for me to work at home.
I feel that if I could shoot at home, I wouldn't get anything done ever.
Yeah, I tend to go outside and shoot, like, I don't know, before work, around lunchtime, after work, during work. Mute buttons are great things.
Just in the middle of a conference call, like, yes, sir, the faxes have been sent.
That's right. Yeah, been there, done that.
Ash, what is a new development in your lifeses?
Not much new. Everybody on quarantine. I got twin 12-year-old boys. They're out of school now. Built them an axe throwing target, so that's taken up about a week of their life now. They're hooked on that. Good skill to have, I guess. Other than that, I'm still working. Still essential.
Keep telling yourself that, buddy. Yeah, so your sons are using their axe throwing skills for the worst zombie apocalypse ever that we're currently experiencing. So yeah, worst zombie apocalypse ever. That was actually one of my new developments. Is I'm also considered essential. Don't know why, but no, I'm just kidding. Construction is one of the things that's considered essential, and since I do like granite countertops and stuff like that, like we have to keep working. So yeah, we have taken a lot of precautions in the shop where like basically I go around the shop like 10 times a day and spray everything with bleach, everything. So that's one new development. Another new development, you guys know as well as I do, because y'all are both reloaders, powder has become stupid hard to find here lately. Like H4350, the magic fairy dust that everybody uses for their Creedmoors and their 260s. I was looking for H1000 and Rotumbo, and a friend of mine heard that I was looking for H1000, and he sent it to me. That's not the first time he's bailed me out of like a bad or an interesting situation. So yeah, I was really excited that a friend of mine sent me 2 pounds of H1000 so I can start loading for my 6 comp match. And the other development, as some people know, very few. Actually, I didn't even tell my mom. I didn't tell my dad. I didn't tell anybody, basically. About a year ago, I was given a time frame to live. I was given an expiration date. They basically told me that I would have 2 to 3 years to live. I didn't tell anybody that because, one, it's nobody's business, but also because, I didn't want people to worry and stuff like that. The reason that I had got that diagnosis is because of my lungs. And basically, my lungs had gotten exponentially worse from the first test. Like, really bad, really fast is what exponentially means. And they did a test for me this week whenever I had my VA appointment. And they said that basically my lungs had plateaued right there. Like, they haven't gone up or down at all. So essentially they said, that 2 or 3 years is no longer a thing. It's as long as I continue the treatments that I'm on, I don't have an expiration date. I mean, we all do technically, but I'm not dying in 2 or 3 years anymore. So yeah, but that was something that I kept really close to my chest. It was a difficult phone call to make to my mom and to my dad this week. After I got the good news, obviously. I didn't want my parents to worry or anybody else to worry. That's why I didn't tell anybody. And now that now that I found out that it doesn't matter, then yeah, I figure it's a good thing to talk about.
Well,
That's a new development.
I see what you did there. Keeping it close to your chest.
Because lungs and close to your I got it. You're the best. All right, so my favorite part. Let's talk about our sponsors. Go ahead, guys.
Sophie, who's your sponsor? Who pays for all your stuff?
Dad does.
That's right. We need some sort of snazzy logo that says "Sponsored by Daddy," so that I can put that all over a jersey with this smiling mug.
Wow. I'm making my own logo name. I thought of one.
So,
I don't know if everybody will like it.
So yeah, we're not sponsored. We have had some support from a couple companies along the way.
Confidence, the one that gave us most support.
Yes.
Gave us free stuff.
So we'll talk. I don't want to talk about equipment too much because I think that's one of the later agenda items. So
we already covered equipment.
Okay. All right. Well,
you don't remember?
So one of the things that's been a challenge, or actually been a fun project for me, has been trying to solve for the challenges of being a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old shooter. Because apart from little things like a cricket, there's not a lot of firearms out there that are designed with youth shooters in mind. And, with my familiarity to the AR platform, that's obviously the one that I gravitated to as being the most flexible. And we tried a number of different things, from a length of pull standpoint and things like that. The biggest things that were a challenge for Sophie were length of pull, overall weight, and trigger weight. Those are the things that were the biggest challenges for her. The length of pull, I got in contact with John over at Smoke Composites and sent him a video of Sophie. She cleaned a plate rack, or she cleaned a Texas Star when she was like 7 years old with a 9mm, and sent him that video, and he was like, "Wow, that is awesome." And been working with him to get custom sized stocks, custom handguards. Pretty much all of Sophie's rifles are using Smoke Composites hardware on them, and just John and Aura, they've been such fantastic supporters of us, and honestly, there's nothing out there that's lighter, and there's nothing out there that I've been able to find that's stronger. We haven't had any nothing's broken yet. I don't expect it to, and really, I wouldn't go to anything else for handguards, grips, stocks, buffer tubes. We run their parts. Anything they make, we run it on whatever we can. And I was really happy to see George. George is working with them as well on his ultralight line of rifles and things like that he's making with 903 Tactical. I just love seeing Smoke Composites out there because they're really great people, and they've been good supporters for us. This bolt gun back here. This was something that was put together. There's a lot of, again, Smoke Composite stuff on it, a lot of carbon fiber, a lot of magnesium, but a lot of the gunsmithing work that was done, chambering it, threading it, all of that stuff, that was done by Aerodynamics, who I think is no stranger to the show here. They've done a lot of great things for Sophie's rifle. And so, we picked up that off of prize table. I won that off of one of the prize tables at Richard's matches, and said, you know what, I'm going to have Sophie. I'm going to have him build a bolt gun for Sophie. And so we got that put together, and he finished it just in time for Christmas last year. And so she was able to start shooting that this year and overcome some of the challenges that she had with the gas gun. And get into a platform that she was able to fully operate all by herself, as opposed to needing the occasional hand with the charging handle. So big thanks out to Cecil and Aerodynamics for the work that they put into getting her rifle ready for her. And it shoots great. She's done really well with it in matches. And everything's super with it.
Thank you.
Oh, the other thing, the action on that rifle. I've originally a couple of years ago, feels like a couple of years ago, Impact Precision, who are one of the major actions in the competition world in the Remington 700 format. They teased the idea of making some titanium actions, and so that went on for a while, and I kept on bugging them over and over and over again, like that titanium action. That's exactly what I need for Sophia. That's what I need for her rifle. When are you guys can get it done? When you guys when's it going to come to market? Can I get in line? Can I put some money down? Can I when can I get this thing? And I bugged Vinny and Wade and those guys so much that I didn't even ask for it, but they after I purchased the action, they sent me what, based on the serial number, is literally the fourth one on the line. I don't know, I must have been in the front of the line or something, but thankful to them for the support in helping to get her that action as soon as possible and help us get that something that was reality for Christmas last year.
Nice. You were and that went on the rifle that Cecil put together, the aerodynamics put together.
Yep.
It's funny that you were talking about aerodynamics. Cecil just bought a motorcycle, a BMW Adventure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was like, I think Tom's got one of those. Don't you have one of those?
I do. I have a F800 DS. It was actually, speaking of low serial numbers, it was actually literally the first one into the dealership back in 2008 when BMW first announced it. I'd ridden an F650 GS for a number of years, and then was like, hey, this bike BMW just announced, this is everything I ever wanted the 650 to be, but it couldn't. And so that was literally like the 33rd F800 GS that was built for the US based on the serial number. So I guess I have a habit of getting in the front of the line for some of this stuff, which sometimes works out, sometimes doesn't work out so well. You get to be a beta tester on something, but fortunately, both that bike and this rifle have been perfect for us.
Yeah, Cecil was telling me that because everybody's all quarantined and stuff, he's like, I just bought this motorcycle and now we're all quarantined and he can't ride it. And I was like, that sounds like social distancing to me. Go ride, bro. I've been riding mine. Yeah, I've been riding my DR.
Pretty soon, I think they're going to announce that everybody needs to walk around wearing a helmet. So he's actually a trendsetter there.
I'm okay with that. Ash, what's new in the world of the Johnsons besides the axe throwing board? No, we're talking about sponsors. I'm sorry, I've been drinking. Sponsors.
I can tell. Title II Manufacturing.
Title II. Yes, what you got to say about them?
Awesome people. Chris is a good guy. I've had a couple people come to me over the years, and I kind of got away from the sponsorship thing years ago. But after I seen what his business does and what he does for friends and shooters, and just how nice of a guy he was, he came to me, I was game. I said, let's do it. I don't need nothing from you. I just want to shoot for you. Let's go.
I'm about it.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess that means that I'll start off with Title II Manufacturing. So Title II Manufacturing is one of my main sponsors. They made the Cameron Hayes rifle, the Hayes rifles. They released those. They got a pretty steep discount right now because of the state of emergency and stuff like that, which is pretty dope. Also, I'm pretty sure they're affiliated with a few companies that are pretty awesome, like dead air suppressors. And I'm supposed to get a couple of dead air suppressors here very soon, along with the AEM 5 suppressor. I'm getting that as well, but just not yet. We're waiting on some paperwork. Aerodynamics, we were just talking about them a couple minutes ago. I finally got powder just for my aerodynamics rifle, thanks to my buddy Ed. Bullet Consulting Group, they made my Glock 19 slide. Control Solutions muzzle brakes, like I said, Frank's Red Hot, put that stuff on everything. Todd Resource Management, we talked about their matches. They give me a place to do evaluate products. Green Mountain Defense, they're out of Pennsylvania. They teach classes and stuff like that. They're awesome. I'm supposed to teach a class out there myself. The Sling and Lead Live podcast, that's the Lead Sling and Ginger's channel. Or that's actually his podcast. Lead Sling and Ginger is his channel. 903 Tactical, he's been in the chat a little bit, and he is a friend of mine. He's out of Texas. Makes awesome guns. I share his stuff all the time on my Facebook because they just look so cool. Resurgence PPG, they help disabled veterans. Fortitude Consulting, they do like classes for defensive handgun, defensive carbine, stuff like that. Phoenix Strategies, don't know what they do. Nobody does. Canebrake Consulting, Mike Lewis saw a deficiency with the Army. He did something about it. Palmetto State Armory, they want to do something with me. We're still not sure what it's going to be. And Criterion Barrels, they expedited my order for my barrels for my rifle cartridge. And right now I'm just waiting on barrels. Once my barrels come in, then I will be making some of the barrels based on my rifle cartridge. So that is sponsors. Now, what's next? What's the next talking point, Ashton? I've been drinking.
Questions and comments. I've got a couple. But to start out with, Tom's got a couple comments and questions he needs to look over. 903 commented that for Tom to send him a message, and they'll send out a swag bag out to you and Sophie. So y'all are already gaining traction.
Get you some gifts.
See, look, just come on my podcast, and you got.
And all you need is a pretty face. This is the first one you've had on the show.
And
you're not wrong.
SiteRight commented, please get in contact with him, and he'd like to sponsor Sophie. So I'll let you take care of that afterwards. But
don't know who SiteRight is, but they sound legit. I don't know who they are.
Willing to sponsor a young kid. They must be all right.
I'm okay with it.
You're not.
She's picky. She's picky, so they better have something dope. Sophie, get me free stuff. Get me stuff, Sophie.
They were like, I want to sponsor her as soon as she said she likes bolt gun over gas.
That's fair.
We do have a couple questions if we got time. You can
go ahead.
Pick and choose. 903 Tactical would like to know what Tom and Sophie's favorite cartridges are and why.
Ooh. Can we all answer that, or they? Go ahead.
Sophie, what's the ammo that you shoot from the Gray Ghost? It's your 223 AI, right? Yeah. So, in case you can't tell, I do all the loading for her.
What? Sophie doesn't.
What?
Yeah. So, we had Sophie's rifle chambered in 223 Ackley improved. And the primary reason for that, for a while I was actually looking at 224 Valkyrie, and at the time, again, this is going back a couple of year and a half. Sort of the magazine situation for 224 Valkyrie and a bolt gun was sort of up in the air. People were having problems with feeding and things like that. They hadn't quite gotten the right kits together for 224. And if I remember correctly, at that point, even the mags that they were doing, they were converting 10-round mags, and they were only able to get like 8 rounds of Valkyrie into them in the first place. And 8 rounds in a mag for a bolt gun competition rifle isn't going to really put you at the top. So I really wanted something that was a little bit more proven, a little bit more, set from a mag standpoint. And so I was looking at 223, and I was looking at 223 active. I wanted to throw some heavy, high DC bullets, and I wanted to throw them fairly fast. And the speed boost that the Ackley gives is pretty significant. Out of her rifle with a 22-inch barrel, we're throwing 75 grain ELDMs at about 30-50, which basically means Todd Richards matches to Todd Resource Management. They go out to 500, I guess 550 if you have a crazy match director who really wants to stretch it out by using the Connex.
Ouch! First of all, ouch. Go ahead.
But puts pretty much anything at his matches within a 2 mil hold of zero, which is pretty awesome for something like a 75 grain ELDM. Yeah, they're a little bit more affected by wind than what I'm pushing out of the 6.5 with the 147s, but honestly, I couldn't be more thrilled with the 223 Ackley chambering, especially for her. It's very low recoil. Her gun is so much fun to shoot. I almost want to shoot it in a match myself. And yeah, so 223 Ackley for Sophie. I actually want to build a second Ackley barrel that's longer, see if I can get even more velocity out of it. See if I can get something closer to 3,100 or even up to that, close to the magical 3,200 mark with those 75 grains, or build something with a little bit faster twist because this one's an 8. It's what they had available. I didn't want to wait for a custom order because I really wanted this whole rifle to come together for Christmas. So I got an 8 twist. In hindsight, that's probably a mistake. I probably should have waited. It does great with the 75 grains, but it struggles with the 80s and 85s. And I really want to try to push the 85.5 burgers. I was getting, let's see, I developed a load with them. I was getting like 220 or 29.50 out of those. So I wasn't giving up a whole lot over the 75s, which gained a lot of BC. I just couldn't get it to group with the twist barrel though. So I'm hoping for something a little bit better. I've got a 7 twist proof coming, and that'll be a 26-inch barrel, something that runs a little bit heavier. This rifle back here is BSF barrel. That's BSF makes carbon fiber barrels. They're lighter than proof, and ultimately the whole goal for this build, as it is with so many of my Sophia builds, is everything as lightweight as possible but still practical. So this rifle still has an Arca rail on it, still got a first focal plane scope, still got an adjustable buttstock. I could make it lighter. I think I've made, in its lightest configuration, I've made this rifle just under 6 pounds, which is pretty substantial weight savings. But it wasn't practical that way. There was no way to put a bipod on it. It had a straight up smoke composite stock without any adjustable cheek piece, or no, it had the adjustable cheek piece, but no adjustable length of pole or anything like that. And so it's a lot more practical in this form, but it's still as light as it could be. So this one has a BSF barrel, which is lighter. The next one, or the next barrel, is a proof barrel. I mean, I like the switch barrel capability of my AI, and then I figured out that pretty much every bolt action is a switch barrel if you have a Bison action wrench. So I can go ahead and put anything I want to on there. And again, because it's an impact action, it's all I can order prefits. Everything's going to be two-stack. Everything's going to be exactly the same from one action to another. And I've actually had a steel impact action sitting in a box upstairs waiting for me to throw it into another XLR chassis and be able to steal some of Sophia's barrels as well. And shoot with that. All because I wanted a 308 bolt face. So we had the 223 bolt face. I wanted the 308 bolt face, and I'm like, you know what? I feel like the best way to get that right now is to buy a whole action.
I feel that. Okay, so Sophie's favorite chambering, which was George's original question, is 223 AI. What is your favorite chambering, or did you say that was yours as well?
It's getting to be mine. It's getting to be mine. But what I shoot most is the 6.5 Creedmoor. Again, when I first started getting the bolt gun, in fact, the AR-10 is in 6.5 as well. When I first started getting the long range period, 6.5 was and still is to a degree all the rage. I personally like heavy for caliber bullets, and so on the 6.5, I'm running 147 grains, and barrel length equals velocity. So I have a 28-inch barrel on my AI, and like you said, I'm throwing those 147 grain ELDMs, almost 2,900 feet per second, which is just blazing.
Yeah, that's quick.
Yeah. I'd like to get a little faster, but I don't think I want to go over the 28 inches that I already have.
So, Ashton, what's your favorite chambering?
You're still on mute, Dave.
You're still muted. I know you muted it to fart, but you're still muted.
Keep it PG. No, 260 with 130 grains, 30-50 for the feet per second.
Yeah. I tell people all the time that if you're a hand loader, 260 Remington. If you're wanting to buy everything off the shelf, I say 6.5 Creedmoor.
And I don't know if it's my favorite. I haven't shot them all, but it's what I kind of shot long enough to where I love it. I don't want to change. I'm set up. You've seen me do my load development.
Yeah.
Like, I load up 10 rounds. I'm like, yeah, I found one that works. You're like, what?
I think 90% of your load development is trying to figure out what drink you want to drink while you're loading.
Yes.
So for me, my favorite chambering, and this is going to sound weird, is my favorite commercial, like my favorite, like that you could go buy off the shelf chambering, is probably 6.5 Grendel. I mean, I know like you're bleeding off some of the velocity that you get out of the Creedmoor, which is awesome for, the precision rifle game because velocity equals long range hits and smaller danger space. But I'm a big fan of the Grendel is like as basically an 800 yard and in round. I took a deer with a 6.5 Grendel this year using 123 grain SSTs, and I'm a fan of it. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like you are losing velocity. Like whenever you're pushing that pill, like 2,500 feet per second or whatever, versus the Creedmoor pushing it like 2,800 feet per second in the same weight category. You're losing a lot there as far as your danger space. But I'm just a fan of the kind of energy that you can get out of that in an MSR size platform gun versus using the larger platform guns. Okay. I'm getting a message right now.
And I've got some more comments and questions that were
okay.
posted.
So as far as site right is,
Yes.
One of my friends on Facebook sent me a message because I had said I had no idea what site right was. One of my connections at Shepherd Scopes it's his personal company. I'm not going to name drop who it is or anything like that, but it is his personal company. And he just messaged me on Facebook about it. It's the dude who sends me Shepherd Scopes to evaluate.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
So he is. So from, I don't know what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say, but I'm going to say this. You guys know that in most of the gun industry, whether it be the sales side or if it's the actual production side, most of the people in the gun community or in that part of the community don't actually shoot. They sell products. They're salesmen. That's all they are. This guy's a shooter. So that's why I appreciate this guy the way that I do. And he appreciates what I do, as far as like actually doing real evaluations. Most of the time, whenever you see people evaluate stuff on YouTube or whatever, every single thing that they push out's a big thumbs up just because they got it for free. And you guys know as well as anybody else, if somebody sends me something that's trash, I'm going to say it's trash. So whenever I evaluated their product, they actually had a good product, even though, it's economical and everything like that. But anyway, so SiteRight, that's a little sidebar about SiteRight right there and what's going on with that. So I'll inform you guys after the podcast is over about that. So my favorite chambering is 6.5 Grendel. Even though you bleed off some of the velocity or whatever, I think for 800 yards and in, if you're shooting SSTs and you can push maybe 2,500 feet per second out of an 18-inch barrel sometimes you can't, but sometimes you can get about 25 hundo out of an 18-inch using 123 grain SSTs, and they've got a ballistic coefficient G1 of 0.51. Yeah, that's good stuff. I like it. Like I said,
I have to admit to being a little six curious though.
Yeah, well, okay, so I had said that was my favorite chambering commercial. Obviously, my favorite chambering is going to be the 6mm Cheetah whenever it actually comes out, whenever I get my barrels in from Criterion so that they can be rimmed. It's going to be my favorite, though. Mostly because, like just like we were talking about before, all things being equal, if I can get this to shoot 1 MOA and I can shoot whatever BC projectiles out of it, which I plan on shooting the 105 Hornadies out of it or the 108 ELD Hornadies out of it. And then if I can get the velocity that I'm projecting out of it, then it's going to blow Grendel out of the water.
Dang.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. I got, we're running a little over probably for what you anticipated, but I got one more question that
you got more than one.
One more that's pertinent. Jordan Spradley posted,
yeah,
does she need a Sprad bag? And Cameron can talk on the bags. I don't know if you've got one yet, but
of course she needs a Sprad bag.
That would be good.
Yes, Jordan, whenever you release the Haze version of your bag, make one for her too.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, nobody's seen that yet. I kind of spec'd one out. There was more questions than that. I know there was.
You got time? You want to keep going?
I've got time. Tom, do you got time?
I've got time. I've got all
the time. I got time. You got time. We ain't got nowhere to be.
All right. Tom and Sophie. This could be for all of us. What's your favorite scope reticles and why?
Oh, I got this one.
That's from 903 Tactical.
Well, I really like Collis scopes. I've been a fan of Collis for a long time, and I like the SKMR3. That's my go-to reticle. I like a floating dot in the center. I don't like an open center like the Vortex has. I got a couple of Vortex 4.5, 27. The SKMR3 it does everything that I want it to do without being overcomplicated. On my latest scope 525, I went with the MSR2 reticle, which is pretty neat for being able to measure stuff. The one thing that I miss though is I do miss the numbers next to the mill holds. So the hash marks. If I want a 3.5 mil hold, maybe I just need to practice with it more. I don't have 2 of them because they're expensive. So I don't put it on 22. But it slows me down to count down the hash marks to get to a 3.5 mil hold, for example, or even bigger. So I don't know if I'd go with the MSR2 again. I'd probably go back to the SKMR3 because I don't see that it's doing anything that I couldn't have done with the SKMR.
That's good. Yeah, I couldn't go without numbers down on the elevation. That would drive me crazy. I'd count it and then go back. Like, did I count that right? Hold on.
No. I mean, I can't count past 3 anyway, so it makes it really hard because I can't see my fingers while I'm also looking through the scope.
All right, Ashton, what's your favorite reticle and why?
The Vortex EBR 2C, and just because I've ran it so long.
Okay, I like the Christmas tree reticles a lot. You guys know that. Application driven. Like if I'm using like a long range scope, which is the nature of this podcast, I like the H59, the Horus H59. But if it's like as far as a LPVO, because I think that the designated marksman role is should have an LPVO. I think for an LPVO, I don't think the reticle exists yet. I designed a reticle for an LPVO that I've talked to a couple of companies about. Some of those companies were flaky, where they were supposed to have conversations with me about the reticle and then just kind of never did. I designed a reticle a while back. Actually, Ashton was there when I designed it. I designed a reticle a while back that would be perfect for a second focal plane LPVO, but nobody's really hit me back up about it. Like I've had a few people that were interested that work for some pretty important companies, but then whenever that, I'm not reaching out to them. Like, I've got something that they want, not the other way around. So yeah, that's that. Is the H59 for the long range, and then I designed my own reticle. I would like to see it in some stuff, but nobody's claimed it yet. So,
is it a BDC reticle for the 6mm Cheetah? Just stacking those hash marks, right on top of each other.
No, it's a mill reticle, but it's just it's something I haven't seen yet. Like I feel like BDCs. I'm not a big fan of BDCs because they work for one chambering, one velocity, one grain of projectile, and that's it. That's what a BDC works for. I'm a bigger fan of having a mill reticle, and not only that, you can use a mill reticle like a BDC out to a certain distance. Like because I keep saying if you're pushing a 77 grainer like 2,700 feet per second, then 1 mil is 300, 2 mils is 400, 3 mils is 500, 4.5 mils is 600, 4.25 really, but 4.5 for easy numbers. And so like whenever I'm doing like my quick holds and stuff like that at a match, that's what I use, because usually your target size will dictate that you can do that. Anyway, yeah. So the last question was reticles, right? Yeah. So the H59 and then the LPVO reticle would be the one that I designed that nobody has yet.
Yeah, I agree with you on the BDC though. It's never right. It's just a different way of measuring. Unfortunately, it's also not really standardized. You still need to confirm whatever the distances are that those hash marks are for.
Yeah, for a BDC.
You're not speaking the same language as anybody else. You can't measure where you are on a target with BDC because the hash marks are all different distances to each other. And you're right about using the mill reticle as a BDC. Ashton, you mentioned in a previous show how you use a 200-yard zero.
Yes.
I also make sophisticated choices and use a 200-yard zero. The reason for that is because the holds that I have benefit from the fact that I'm knocking 0.3 off of each of those holds.
So it's closer to a rounder number, or?
Yeah, it's a rounder number. So I would need 0.3 more on each of them if I were to have a 100-yard zero. The 200-yard zero knocks it all down by 0.3, and I don't need to worry about that anymore. It just ties it in with rounder numbers so that I don't have to hold in the middle of a hole and a half hash mark.
I started a 200-yard zero when Woody's, a match we used to shoot at years ago, would sneak 30 and 50-yard targets up close.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that big of a deal, but I looked at it. I could zero at 50 yards and be zeroed at 200.
Mm-hmm.
And the size targets they put out to 300, I don't hold or dial or do anything. It's just bang, bang, bang. So out to 300, I'm good. If I was zeroed at 100, I might have to start holding up at 3.
Yeah. And so I'll take my viewer range predominantly based on how it works for the rest of the adjustments that I need to make. On the 22s, for example, I'm a little strange. I don't use a 25-yard zero. I use a 35-yard zero strictly because what that does is that puts 75 at a 1 mil and it puts 100 exactly on a 2 mil.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Instead of the 85 yards and 105 yards or something, it would be like that.
Ready for more questions?
Course. Of course.
Sophie, what?
Are there any questions for Sophie? I think she's decided it's her bedtime.
Let me see. What safety glasses do you like, Sophie?
Ooh. What safety glasses do you like?
What color? What color tint?
Ooh, what color tint?
Blue.
Mm.
That sounds dope. I've never even seen blue tinted safety glasses.
With blue shade.
Yeah, we actually, so you guys saw the video that we made from the last TRM match. And, similar to you, Cam, we got some comments about, not wearing safety glasses, right? And, they're right. You get a Pierce primer or something like that, you get a jet of hot gas coming back towards your face, you're gonna wish you had some glasses on. Does that happen a lot? No, it doesn't happen a lot, but it only takes one. And so, people are right. I've typically been of the opinion that if you're shooting a semi-auto, something where the action is opening for you, that you really ought to make sure that you're wearing safety glasses for that. Because you don't have a locked chamber in that case, and you're not manually controlling the condition of that chamber. But I went ahead and got her some better safety glasses for that, and we found some Ruby Project glasses on sale, and she really likes them because they're hot pink with some blue tint to the eye shields, and of course they're fully safety rated and everything. So she's really digging her new shades, which I think is a big part. It's important if you want to make sure that people wear them.
Yeah, that was kind of the conclusion that I came to. Is like, I was like, okay, I get it. People are concerned about my safety, but the way I was looking at it, I was like, I'm dying in 2 years anyway. It doesn't matter. But no, just kidding. For me, it was more like I was thinking about it from the mindset of like, like I didn't wear iPro overseas all the time and stuff like that. And I was like, whatever. And then, on top of that, thinking about it from the parallax standpoint is, I didn't want to add an extra lens to the system kind of thing. But yeah. Ash, questions?
Yeah, that was it for Sophie if she needs to go. Appreciate you being on. I hope you get a lot of sponsors from this. It's looking good so far.
Sophie, do you have anything to say to finish up?
Well, not really. I don't know. I'm talking to everyone. Good night.
She's a few words, which I will value in a few years. Hopefully,
nothing wrong with that. I do have a couple questions posted up for Cam that we can
I
go
see
over.
that. It looks like there's 3 in a row, all from Terry, my buddy Terry.
Yeah. So Terry Williams asked, "Is there any reason you have the scope so high on your Predator?"
Yes, it's because I used a AR mount instead of scope rings. I straight up slapped that scope on there, and that was that pretty much. So yeah, I slapped a really high mount on that gun and just left it on there. So I know insane height over bore, whatever, but as long as you compensate for that height over bore and you don't incorporate cant into the system, it doesn't matter. You can have a scope that sits 3 feet above the gun, and as long as you incorporate that into your firing solution and you don't cant the gun, you're fine. You'll still impact on your target. So that was more my thought process on it. Is I was like, yeah, it's tall, but I wanted to use a certain cheek riser. I wanted to use a certain scope. I wanted to use a certain scope mount. So because of that, it ended up being really tall. It's actually really comfortable to shoot that way, though, because whenever you're standing and shooting, if you're using proper posture, you don't want to crane your neck as much as possible. So for me, just because of my particular build, being a beefier dude, I like to, be able to look straight through my scope and not have to bend my head either way. And the way that gun is set up currently is I don't have to bend my head in any particular way or anything like that. I can literally hold the rifle up and just look through the scope. So it's convenient.
Yeah, and really the height over bore, that doesn't really come into much, again, unless you have cant, it really doesn't come into play very much, except everything from your near zero to the rifle. That gets magnified by the height over bore. But once you get to your near zero, The height of a board, I mean, run it through the calculator, you could literally put 3 feet in there and you're going to have, just a tiny bit of difference, even at some pretty long ranges.
But you said it yourself, near zero. Me being the designated marksman, snipery dude, ballistic loopholes. That is all near zero.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next question?
This is touching on your lung condition. Terry would like to know, with your condition, are you worried about COVID-19, the China virus?
So,
China.
China. So, but because of my condition, I am considered high risk. Where basically, if I caught the coronavirus, I would die. No, there's still only like a 20% chance that I would die, even if I got it. Just like, anybody else who got it. I am high risk just because of my lung condition and the way that it attacks your lungs and your respiratory system. But do I worry about it? No. I could die in a car accident on the way to work. I've lived in countries where people woke up that morning and their whole goal was to kill me, and I'm still here. My buddy called me earlier this week, and he was like, "Man, you are the most stubborn person I've ever met in my life." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "You were told that you would never walk again, and you run, sub 8-minute miles, sub 7-minute miles." He was like, "You were told that you had 2 or 3 years to live, and you basically told that doctor, nah." So, yeah, he says that I'm the most stubborn dude he's ever met. He's not the only one who says that, but no, I'm not worried about it.
Good. I hope you don't get it for sure. But I could see you, if you got it, calling me up and not going to the hospital and say, "We're going to do some hood rat for a couple of days. We're going out in a blaze of glory. Let's go to Florida."
Every picture you see of me, I look like I've been eating powdered donuts.
Oh, man.
Hey, Tom. I mean, officer.
I think that's it for the comments.
I thought there was 3 questions.
You might want to go back through.
Didn't he ask 3?
Actually, go back to the first one. He probably forgot it by now.
Say that again?
Go back to the first one. He probably forgot it by now.
No, I went all the way through.
Oh, okay, yeah. So he said he's still working. That was the other thing, that because he said 3 things in a row. Yeah,
I wasn't slipping.
You ain't slipping. You ain't slipping.
Bolt gunner.
Bolt. Can't slip my hand off that bolt. Did Sophie go to bed? Can we cuss again?
Yeah, you're still going.
I'm kidding. This was supposed to be more G-rated or gangster rated. I hate myself for doing that. I'm gonna drink some more. Anyway, did you get all right, so anybody got any last words or something less scary to say? It sounded a little bit threatening. Any last words? What you got, Tom?
I enjoyed this podcast.
Thanks, Tom.
I like stop talking over me. I hope Sophie picks up some sponsors. The guys, I just want to shout them out one more time. Jordan Spradley, 903 Tactical, and Sight Right. If they're going to step up and you're allowing it, that's huge. I can see her starting this young, really, really being good at this sport quick. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad. Thank you guys for having us on. We're always looking for the best equipment out there. Sometimes you get support from people. Sometimes you buy it all, and but no matter what, if we've got good equipment, we like telling people about it. And so looking forward to connecting with some of these guys. I know I've seen lots of pictures of George's work at 903. He's got some awesome stuff out there. Jordan Bradley, Cameron, you told me about his bag. That sounds pretty dope. It's going to be pretty awesome. Looking forward to seeing that and getting my hands on one and seeing how that works. And Sight Right, I still don't know what you guys do, but maybe Cam will tell me later.
Yeah, we'll as soon as the podcast is over, I'll get you linked up with the guy who I'm talking to, because actually right after that he was curious about my reticle too, so that might be a thing also. Also Jordan Spradley just commented and he said something about the. So what you guys don't know about Jordan Spradley is he is a professional cameraman. He has literally recorded everything but porn. So, yeah.
Well, there's still time.
There's time. There is time.
How did you get back from Florida with that box not checked?
Right. He's the guy who filmed my the Russian hood rats video that I posted earlier today and stuff like that. But anyway, so anything else? Has anything else popped up? Anything? Y'all got anything else to say? This is about to be all right. I'm gonna call it then. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully this will be over.